Hello and welcome to the Campbellsville University Excellence in Teaching event. My name is Shad Lacefield and I am a proud '07 graduate of Campbellsville University. I first need to take the time to salute you for being a top gun in your classroom. You have been selected and are watching this video today because you went above and beyond in 2020. You were a light in the darkness. You took the time and the effort that was required to make immediate and long-lasting impact in your kids' lives. And I cannot thank you enough for all of that hard work. In 2020, I too faced the same crazy challenges that we were all facing. And I looked at those challenges and thought, what in the world am I going to do? And it was a time when, as a teacher, having taught in 2 states, having taught in 2 different countries, and through coaching or teaching, interacted with 7 different grade levels, I was at a loss. We were needing to present content to our kids in a way that we had never presented it before, and they had never learned that way before. And I was, probably much like you guys, in a search for what was going to be my thing. What was it going to be that I could use that was going to make that long-lasting impact in their lives? So, to quote one of my favorite movies, actually to misquote one of my favorite movies, I felt the need to make kids smile. That's right, that was going to be my goal in 2020. Through the hard times, through the uncertainty, I was going to make it a point in my classroom to make my kids smile. So I decided to learn the video editing software known as InShot. I also decided to use all of my costumes that I have at my house. And yes, I do have a lot of costumes because I have 3 little kids. And every year for their birthday, we do a different theme. So over the years of the 3 kids and several different birthdays, you get a lot of costumes that add up. Mix in the Halloween and other fun things. As teachers, we sometimes do when we get costumes for theme weeks. I've got over 30 plus costumes in my closet, and I said, I'm going to use these to engage my kids and to make my learning fun, keeping in mind I'm going to get them smiling and laughing. So that's what I did. I started presenting my content dressed as different characters each and every day. That's right, each and every day I would be dressed as a character. And I did that without fail, over and over again, loving the outcome, loving the responses that I was getting from my students and from their parents, saying things like, my kid wakes up in the morning and the first thing they do is they look for your science video that's going to be posted to see what it is that you got planned for them that day and what costume you're wearing. Or from the kids who'll stop by my virtual office hours and be like, hey, this is my middle school sister. She watches your videos every morning because she wants to see what it is that you're going to do. It was those interactions and those messages that made me enjoy a time that was really tough in teaching to enjoy. So as the summer went by and we got ready to start the craziness again in another school year, I decided I was going to keep it going. Even though we went to synchronous instruction and I had to relearn and no more InShot, but now we're doing Zoom and we're having kids virtually come in and we're dealing with connection issues and kids not having their cameras on or having their cameras on or the crazy things that we would see when they did have their cameras on. I had to continue to try to bring as many smiles as I could. So yes, I continued to dress up each and every day without fail. From the first day of school, as I was dressed as Green Lantern virtually, and then as we did our virtual parade in the costume and held a sign for them, until every single day we were virtually, until we actually went back to school, I dressed up without fail. Ended up over 120 costumes in the process, and also ended up with tons of smiles. Because again, that was my goal. I was still presenting content. I was still giving them the information that they needed to be successful, but I wanted to keep in mind, this was tough. It was tough for me, and it was tough for them, and it was tough for their parents. And my goal, we're just going to keep on smiling. We're going to find ways to laugh, to enjoy what it is that we're doing in this crazy time, and keep smiling. Then we went through the tough times of costumes don't always work. That's right. Even though I was dressing up each and every day, I wasn't always having immediate success. For example, I could have really good attendance, which the costumes always brought them in, and I could have really good engagement. The kids would work when I was there with them, but as soon as they would leave that Zoom meeting, any work that was assigned outside of that, especially that busy work, so we call those Imagine Minutes, Imagine Math or Imagine Reading, where they're having to independently, on their own, without instruction, get back on that computer after being in a Zoom meeting and spend more time on the technology to get those minutes and an hour of minutes on the computer doing those activities. It was tough, and they weren't wanting to do it. So my costumes were making them smile, but then they were faced with this other thing, this task that was making it really, really challenging and tough. And I was seeing a decline in participation with getting assignments either turned in, or especially above anything else was those minutes that we were required to get. So I decided to up my costume game just a little bit, and I started an initiative called Vader Visits. Now, you can actually check the hashtag Vader Visits out on social media like Facebook, and also in YouTube. If you just YouTube hashtag Vader Visits, you're going to see a bunch of these videos pop up, because part of my Vader Visit was if a student completed all of their work, turned in everything, and got all of their Imagine Reading and Math minutes each week, I would put their name on my Vader wheel. I'd spin that Vader wheel each and every Monday, and we would select 2 students for Darth Vader to come and visit. That's right, I would dress completely full outfit, and I would go to a kid's house wearing gloves and a mask, and then another mask on top of it, and we would play a socially distanced game of their choice. But I came to find out that not only did the Vader visits help them be encouraged to get this really challenging work done, but it also made them feel a part of my classroom. I was getting smiles that I had never seen on the computer screen before, because the smile is so different in person. And I remember going to those houses and feeling like, oh, I miss this. I miss this part of teaching, having them in a little bit closer proximity so I can see those smiles up close. And so we continued it, and I've been on over 50 Vader visits and seen 50 different students, and I've done crazy things like rock climbing, hoverboard races, bike races, roller skating. I've even done some more relaxing things like, just drawing with sidewalk chalk, or playing yard Yahtzee, which we actually turned, because she was a big Harry Potter fan, into Harry Potter yard Yahtzee, where I even made a fun little game board for her that was all Harry Potter themed. And that's what it was about. It was about, again, getting those kids to smile, but then also getting to know them and making those connections. So that way, when we actually started to go back in person and we were all in the same room together, I had such a great culture and climate already built up. And the kids were so excited to get back in school and to see me. So naturally, I had to keep dressing up. And while my principal was very supportive of the costumes, he did recommend that possibly I not dress up as something crazy each and every day in my classroom. But I told my kids what I would continue to do, as much as I could, possibly once or twice a week, I would just randomly show up that school day dressed in a costume, and I would connect it, as I told my principal, to the content, and we would have fun with it. And so that's what I've done. And actually, my Maverick outfit is going to go with our flight unit that we're doing this week. And I'm going to surprise my kids tomorrow, full in costume, with my Top Gun music playing as I walk into the classroom. And we're going to have a good time with it. And so, again, as I look back at 2020 and I think about all those smiles that I was able to create, and I think about the interactions that I was able to have with my kids, I know that it wasn't perfect. I know that it was challenging, and I'm not even for sure, as we've just done K-Prep and those other testing scores, what it will look like. I hope that everything is going to look great, as great as it can be with what we've been facing. But at the end of it, I'm going to think, man, I got a lot of smiles. And really, when it boils down to what those kids are going to remember about 2020, we could possibly have given them one of the more awful, horrible memories of their educational experience. But I know the teachers that are watching this, we did not make that happen. Instead, we took the time to make sure that our kids were getting the best quality instruction that we could give them. And for me, I'm going to think I was successful no matter what because of all those smiles. So again, I want to salute you and thank you for being a top gun in your field. I want to thank you for all of your hard work. I know your kids are going to remember you forever. And hopefully you also remember that next year's coming up. And I possibly want you to also feel like you can maybe even make your kids smile. Now, while it might not be dressing up in a silly costume over and over again, it could be some other fun things. So I want to encourage you as you approach next year to think of fun ways once a week to get your kids laughing and to get your kids smiling. It completely changes the culture and climate in your classroom. And I cannot tell you how great it's been in 2020 because I made that commitment, the commitment to get kids smiling. So I just hope and pray for you much success in 2021 and that you can find ways each and every day to make your kids smile, because I know if they're smiling, you as the teacher are going to be smiling too.